Greetings, Exile. As this dead league continues to rot away and lose more and more players with every passing day, I'm here to present another abomination of a build. This time, I'm using one of the most awkward and least played skills in PoE. Accidentally, I've made this character so resilient that it might even be hardcore viable. But before we dive into the details of the build, let me provide you with a small demonstration of its resilience. Vigilant Strike is a strike skill that grants Fortify on hit and has the highest attack damage scaling among strike skills. However, it comes with a cooldown that can only be bypassed by expending an endurance charge. What makes Vigilant Strike truly viable, especially as of patch 3.23, is its new quality scaling. For every 5% quality on the gem, it gains 1% more attack damage per endurance charge. By stacking a total of 101% gem quality through various sources, we achieve 20% more attack damage per endurance charge. With this build, we have stacked up to 12 endurance charges, resulting in a massive 240% more attack damage from the gem alone. When combined with trauma support, this provides us with great amount of damage. However, with great damage comes great self-damage due to trauma support. To mitigate this, we need a robust source of physical damage reduction. We have achieved the maximum 90% pure physical damage reduction allowed in PoE using various sources. The key component here is the Enduring Cry buff, which lasts for 3 seconds. By reducing its cooldown to almost 2 seconds through the use of tattoos and enhanced support, we ensure that the buff is always active. Since we have already achieved 90% physical damage reduction, we have no need for any armor at all. Our weapon is a Potentiality Rod, which provides implicit bonuses of +1 to maximum endurance and power charges. Its explicit modifiers include socketed gems are supported by endurance charge on melee stun support, +1 to level of socketed gems, and crafted 8% to quality of socketed gems in prefixes. The suffixes feature essence slammed attack speed, increased critical strike chance, and an additional +1 to maximum endurance charges. Finally, it is enchanted with increased attack speed per quality using the Harvest Bench. Before we proceed further, I want to clarify that we don't need any armor or evasion in our build. When I specify selecting an evasion or armor base, it's just for rolling spell suppression on evasion bases and physical damage reduction on armor bases. So if you prefer, you can even use an energy shield base. For gloves, we have selected an evasion base. The explicit modifiers provide +1 to maximum frenzy charges, maximum life, spell suppression, essence slammed attack speed, elemental resistance, and crafted melee strike range. The implicit modifiers include Perfect Tier Gain Rage on hit, Exarch modifier, and Grand Tier Chance to Impale, Eater modifier. For boots, we have equipped Ralakesh's Impatience, which grants us the benefit of having maximum number of endurance, frenzy, and power charges without needing to generate them. Additionally, they have a Corrupted Implicit that provides +1 to maximum endurance charges. For our helmet, we have selected an evasion base. Its explicit modifiers provide maximum life, spell suppression, unveiled dex and int, chaos resistance, and crafted melee strike range. The implicit modifiers include Grand Tier increased mana reservation efficiency of skills, Eater modifier, and exceptional tier reduced mana cost of attack skills, Exarch modifier. For body armor, we have selected an armor and evasion base. Its explicit modifiers grant maximum life, unveiled increased maximum life, crafted maximum life, spell suppression, physical damage reduction, and an essence slammed modifier that grants onslaught when hit. The implicit modifiers include exquisite tier plus 3% to maximum fire resistance, Exarch modifier, and grand tier increased effect of pride aura when in the presence of a unique enemy, Eater modifier. Lastly, it is enchanted for increased elemental resistance using the Harvest bench. For rings, one is a synthesized ring with an implicit modifier that provides +1 to maximum endurance charges. Its explicit modifiers include maximum life, critical strike multiplier, crafted dex and int, and reduced mana cost of non-channeling skills. The other ring is Kalandra's Touch, which mirrors all these benefits. For our amulet, we have equipped Ashes of the Stars, which provides +1 to the level of all active skill gems and increases their quality by up to 30%. We have also anointed it with Inveterate for spell suppression. In our belt slot, we have equipped Mage Blood, which provides some resistances and dexterity and causes our leftmost 4 magic flasks to constantly apply their effects. Additionally, it has a corrupted implicit that grants increased skill effect duration. The 4 magic flasks are Bismuth Flask providing increased elemental resistance, Sulfur Flask providing increased damage, Diamond Flask providing increased critical strike chance, and Ruby Flask for increased maximum fire resistance. All flasks are enchanted with increased effect using enkindling orbs and have prefixes that also provide increased effect. As for suffixes, it doesn't matter which flask has a specific suffix, as long as you have them rolled. Note, if you're having trouble managing elemental resistance, you can change the reduced curse effect suffix to increased elemental resistance suffix. Our weapon contains our main damage setup with Vigilant Strike linked to the following supports: Impale, Ruthless, Trauma, Awakened Brutality, and Awakened Enhance. While mapping, I swap out Awakened Brutality with Awakened Melee Splash support. Note, if Awakened Enhance is completely out of your budget, you can use increased critical damage support instead. In our gloves, we have our utility setup. It contains Enduring Cry, Berserk, and Call to Arms linked to enhanced support. Our helmet contains our movement speed and buff setup. It has Leap Slam, Ancestral Protector, and Vengeance linked to rage support. In our body armor, we have our main aura setup. It contains Precision, Dread Banner, Pride, Purity of Fire, and Herald of Purity, all linked to Enlighten support. Lastly, our boots contain our Cast when damage taken and mark setup. It has Immortal Call and Blood Rage linked to cast when damage taken, and an unlinked Assassin's Mark, which we manually apply. For this build, we use an 8-passive large cluster jewel with Furious Assault, Iron Breaker, and Master the Fundamentals. One of its socket contains a Megalomaniac with Destructive Aspect and Aerialist. The other socket holds a Natural Affinity small cluster jewel, providing a keystone that grants a chance to deal double damage and less damage taken while stationary. Additional keystones which we take are Unwavering Stance for stun immunity and Mage Bane for spell suppression. We use Melding of the Flesh, which caps our elemental resistances at our highest maximum elemental resistance. An Impossible Escape, which allows us to allocate increased skill effect duration passives surrounding Necromantic Aegis. Forbidden Flesh and Flame Jewels grant us Blitz from Berserker on crit, providing more attack speed. A Watcher's Eye, which grants increased attack speed while affected by Precision, immunity to Ignite while affected by Purity of Fire, and 2 additional impales while affected by Pride. Lastly, a large Thread of Hope near Savagery allows us to allocate Master of the Arena, Art of the Gladiator, and Panopticon. For masteries, we take the following: Increased Critical Strike Multiplier against unique enemies as Critical Mastery. More Accuracy Rating at close range as Accuracy Mastery. Ruthless Blows Intimidate as Two-Handed Mastery. Shock Immunity as Charge Mastery. Additional Strike Targets as Strike Mastery. Increased Mana Reservation as Mana Mastery. More Skill Effect Duration as Duration Mastery. We take unflinching after completing the normal labyrinth, providing a consistent source for endurance charge generation to bypass Vigilant Strike's cooldown and increasing our maximum endurance charges by 1. Next, we take Untiring after the Cruel Labyrinth, which provides enough regeneration to handle trauma stacks. After that, we take Undeniable from the Merciless Labyrinth, providing much-needed accuracy and attack speed. Lastly, we pick Unrelenting after the Uber Labyrinth, which grants chaos resistance, physical damage reduction, and reduces elemental damage taken while at maximum endurance charges. For Pantheon, we select Soul of Lunaris as our major god and Soul of Shikari as our minor god. If you like these off-meta quirky builds, please consider subscribing and following me on Twitch to witness my suffering live. With that said, this was my last build for this league. Now it's time to join others in the 3.25 waiting room and start sniffing on that hopium for melee buffs. GGG, please make Gladiator great again.